When do we know they starting reversing and are done inducing? We will start with the most easiest one, and that is the power of timing. We will have a lot of reasons. One of them is, again, the power of timing. Timing fundamentals. Timing fundamentals. What does that mean? To understand the whole concept about this timing aspect, we need to go way back in time to the good old days, right? When they hadn't such things as whole machineries behind it all, right? We need to go back in time to understand the background information about why the timing aspect is so important. And this goes pretty much back to the good old times when there was not such thing as like an MT4 or even like other fancy trading platforms. There was nothing like that, like back at the days, of course, or where someone could have opened a position from your phone. There was not even phones back in the day, like smartphones. There was no fucking iPhone 13 back in the days. They had like this type of phones. Like, what the hell? You cannot execute a trade with that thing. There's not even a screen. Like, how would you execute an order with that? So, if someone back at the times wanted to open a position in the markets, they literally had to pick up their old phone with like the cable on it, call their broker. The broker requested the order at the main exchange. Like, imagine all the Wall Street banks they had, of course. Like, of course, like, you know, this exchanging room that all the people screaming at each other, like the typical Wall Street things, and where we probably saw in the movies and stuff. But obviously, that was exactly like that back at the times. And pretty much then the order was physically written down in the order book. They call it the order book because someone wants to make an order, so they write it down in the order book. And this went on for the full 8 hours of work, or in quote or in columns, their session length. That's why, for example, the Asia session is 8 hours. That's why London session is 8 hours. That's why Frankfurt session is 8 hours. That's why New York session is 8 hours. But that's their working days when they try to obviously open up orders during their session. But guess what? Once their session was done, they needed to pass their order books with all their orders from people making orders all their session to their colleagues on the other side of the world, which opened their session and take over. So now think about it. Asia session is 8 hours long. So Asia session closes and needs to obviously pass their orders that people took during these sessions to obviously the next people in line, which is Frankfurt. Because after Asia closes at 7 p.m., a.m., Frankfurt opens at 8 a.m. UTC plus 2. So they had 1 hour of time when they actually handed over these orders. Okay, so that's why there's a little delay. There's 1 hour delay of Asia close and Frankfurt open, which is the next session in line. So when Frankfurt opens and they now know exactly where all these orders are in the market, because obviously they just got handed over this book with all these orders and they see, oh shit, like 80% of the people are buying. What are you gonna think they're going to do? They're starting their session build up with this information, of course. Mostly they wait for the big men of London though, because again, this is where the big money comes into place, but sometimes they do it themselves. So again, and what is their goal? What is their goal with all this information? Of course, they wanted to make money, and that's why they use this information in these order books to induce them all in the wrong direction, take their liquidity, take the other side of the position, and of course then lead their session how they please it. Do you understand how this whole thing comes together now? It's just step by step. Now, of course, they're having all this machinery that does the things for them, but intentions are still the same. They need to pass over these order books. And again, that's why this guy is so happy. If you look at him, he's getting his phone call, whatever, from Asia. Like, oh, like 90% of people are buying. He's like, yeah, thank you. Time to make money. Guess what he's doing? Taking all the opposite directions and always inducing them the wrong side, and then leads their session how they wanted to do it. And that's literally how they did it. Does this make sense? It's so important to understand. Okay.